biggest port in the Middle East and North Africa, which happened as well. But we were living in a very different time, I think. I was at the OPEC meeting in November 2014, when there was a different strategy adopted by the major oil producers of the world, and that is not to cut supply, but to kind of fight for market share. And I think because of that, it's more important than ever to have greater female participation in the workforce. If oil is going to average $50 to $60 for the next 4 or 5 years, after having averaged $100 a barrel for the previous 4 to 5 years, a new era requires greater participation from all members of society. We heard excellent participation this morning, and I give my thanks to those who have organized this fantastic forum, from the ministers here to Christine Lagarde's insights on what needs to happen in the developing and developed world. You couldn't ask for more excellent debate and dialogue to advance this society. It's amazing that I sat on the stage today and think that there's 8 ministers in the UAE that are women. It's extraordinary, but we can't forget the trailblazers, I think, as well. If you look at any list of the leading Arab women, no matter which publication you look at the top of that list is Sheikh Lubna Al-Qasimi, who's done phenomenal work in many different ministerial posts, and I've had the honor to interview her many times. And a funny story of seeing Rima Hashmi, the Minister of State, well, at the World Economic Forum just a few years ago, when she was presenting the credentials of the Expo 2020 and about to give birth for another time. So running around the world, making the presentation for Expo 2020, and making it look very simple, although being 6 months pregnant at the time. 2 complete champions, which I think have ushered in the way for people like Dr. Amal Al-Kubaisi and the other 7 ministers that sit on the cabinet today. So let's give them a warm round of applause for being trailblazers and His Highness seeing that foresight to make it happen. We're going to have 50 minutes to have this discussion on voices from the Gulf. We have 2 women and 1 man, and I'm very proud to say it's nice to be in the minority for once. Right? It's usually a male-dominated speaking circuit, if you will. I've been involved in the World Economic Forum for about a part of 20 years, and we always say we need more female participation. We don't have to worry about it here at the Global Women's Forum in Dubai at all. Let's give a warm welcome to our different guests that are going to be joining us here. First, let me introduce Her Excellency, the Ambassador to Spain, Dr. Hissa Al-Ateba, originally from Abu Dhabi, representing the country in Spain and the Holy See. Dr. Basmah Omair is the Chief Executive Officer of a center which I'm going to let her pronounce so I don't completely destroy it with my pronunciation. But she, of course, is also the chairwoman of the Jeddah Chamber of Commerce for Industry and Trade. A nice warm welcome for her. Ambassador. Dr. Basmah here. Thanks very much. And Ahmed Al-Mukhani, the chairperson of SASLO, the Legal Training Center. He has had years of experience in diplomacy and is going to share some very interesting insights into female participation throughout the region. Nice warm welcome to you as well.
Thank you.
Good to see you. Your seat's right there.
Thank you very much.
We have trying to make this as interactive as possible. We have a selection of slides, some photos from somebody's experience as a diplomat, also at the United Nations. We also have some factual slides I think I'm going to intersperse in our 45 to 50 minutes that we have together. But before I sit down and take a seat, I think it's really important to make sure I can see the microphones. I see one there, I see probably one here in the center, and then one on this side. Please participate. I'm going to at least allow 15 minutes at the end to pepper this distinguished panel with questions as well. So I welcome the questions from the floor. We'll get through the first 30 minutes or so with my questions. They won't be too difficult, I don't think. You can always throw a water bottle at me if you don't like those questions. That's what I always say, right? It's gotten worse, let me tell you. Right? No, just joking. First and foremost, I think it's really interesting as a UAE diplomat. You worked at the United Nations before becoming ambassador, now have a seat in Spain, but also as ambassador to the Holy See. Give us a sense of the misperceptions, because that's what we're talking about here. In fact, the first thing that struck me when I moved to the country full-time 5 years ago, but having visited steadily every month for the last 12 years, is how powerful women are, whether they're in the position or not in the position officially, how much strength they have and how much respect they have in society. But take it from a diplomatic standpoint, if you can, Ambassador, and give us a sense What are some of the misperceptions you faced in some of the postings you've had so far? Please.
Thank you. خلال عملك.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. في البداية أحب أن أتقدم بالشكر لكل من ساهم في تنظيم ورعاية هذا المنتدى العالمي للمرأة، وأخص بالشكر سمو الشيخة منال بنت محمد بن راشد آل مكتوم على دعوته الكريمة لي لكي أشارك معكم اليوم هنا وأتكلم من واقع تجربة شخصية على الكثير من المغالطات والصور النمطية التي ترتبط بالمرأة الخليجية وبالمرأة الإماراتية. من هذه المغالطات أن المراكز القيادية في الدول الخليجية هي حكر على الرجال. لقد كان تعييني في 2008 في نوفمبر 2008 باختيار من قيادتنا الرشيدة لأمثل دولة الإمارات التي أعتز بالانتماء إليها وأكون سفيرة في المملكة الإسبانية هو كسر لهذا النمط وكسر لهذا القالب الذي يود الكثير أن يضع المرأة فيه. تم تكليفي، ذهبت بحمد الله إلى متوكلة على الله إلى المملكة الإسبانية أحمل معي مبادئ الدبلوماسية الإماراتية، مبادئ السياسة الخارجية الإماراتية التي تقوم على حسن الجوار، على احترام المعاهدات، على احترام سيادة الدول، عدم التدخل في شؤون الغير، على حل النزاعات بالطرق السلمية. ذهبت إلى المملكة الإسبانية وأنا قدوتي صاحبة السمو الشيخة فاطمة بنت مبارك أم الإمارات التي لولاها ما كانت المرأة الآن تصل إلى هذا المستوى من المشاركة في المجتمع وفي بناء المجتمع الإماراتي الحديث جنباً إلى جنب مع الرجل. ذهبت إلى المملكة الإسبانية، التقيت بجلالة الملك خوان كارلوس الأول، كان لقائي به كسر للتقاليد البروتوكولية المتعارف عليها من ناحية الوقت، لأن بدل أن يستمر اللقاء 5 دقائق امتد إلى 20 دقيقة. كنت أول سفيرة عربية في المملكة الإسبانية. تحدث كثيراً، أشاد بقيادة دولتنا وأشاد بدعمهم للمرأة لكي تأخذ مكان في توثيق العلاقات بين الدول. وقد تكلم كثيراً أيضاً عن مؤسس دولتنا رحمة الله عليه الشيخ زايد بن سلطان آل نهيان. في 2010 تم تعييني سفيرة في دولة الفاتيكان وفي إمارة أندورا. هناك التقيت بقداسة البابا بنديكت السادس عشر.
Well, just to say, we have some pictures that I want to bring up with the King of Spain and also from the Holy See as well. So we can bring those up as you talk. So you talked about your meeting with the King of Spain, and you also going to the Vatican. How did they take you with hijab and all when they met you? Was they open to the concept? Was there a dialogue that was open from the very, very beginning?
لقد كان اللقاء رائع. لقد ثمنوا كون قيادتنا الرشيدة تدفع بالمرأة إلى المصاف الأولية، إلى الصفوف الأولى من الدبلوماسية حتى تعمل على توثيق العلاقات بين الدول. لكن هناك مواقف طريفة كانت أحياناً تقابلني. أنتم جميعكم تعلمون أنه لأن السفير عندما يصل إلى دولة المقر يبدأ بعمل زيارات بروتوكولية للتعريف بنفسه. فكنت في ذهابي لجميع، يعني أول زيارة لجميع الوزراء أو المسؤولين سواء كان في إسبانيا أو في الدول الثانية اللي أنا غير مقيمة فيها، كان يفترض أن سفير الإمارات هو رجل وليس سيدة، وكنت أرى الدهشة على وجهه. لكن الحمد لله بعد قليل تتبدد هذه الدهشة لتتحول إلى ترحيب، دعم وإعجاب بدور المرأة الإماراتية. هنالك الكثير أيضاً إذا من
anecdotes afterwards. I'm listening for the translation at the same time. Although I've lived here for 5 years, I wouldn't say my Arabic is perfect, so you have to bear with me as you speak Arabic. But you understand me fluently, so that's very good. I'm going to bring in Dr. Basmah if I can, and I'll come back to you, of course. I've traveled to Saudi Arabia probably, I think, 25 times in my career, going from 1990 until just a few months ago. So I don't think I know the country well, but I understand it. There's a lot of misperceptions in Saudi Arabia about women in authority and women in power. Most people look to the political arena first and foremost, but the Jeddah Chamber of Commerce is a very powerful organization. People like Lubna Olian, who's in finance and banking, one of the largest family trading groups and finance groups in the Middle East and North Africa, is a woman. Give us what's accurate today in Saudi Arabia and what needs to be done next, because you're doing a lot of polling, a lot of data collection on what the perceptions are even internally in the country. I'd love to hear your thoughts of where we've come from and where we really need to go in Saudi Arabia.
Okay. First, I want to apologize to everybody sitting behind me because I'm giving you my back. I feel I'm not connecting with you.
But the beauty
that's
of
how
this
the setup is.
We have surround
Yes.
cameras, so we're good. They see you, right? They see your face very easily.
What has changed in Saudi Arabia, I think in the past 4 years with all the regulations passed by the Ministry of Labor with the support of the King, has been we've increased women's participation in the workforce by 5 times. Is that enough for us? No, given that we started at 50,000 women in the private sector, and now we have about almost 350,000 women. It's a big progress in a short time, but as women, we always desire much more than that. We have given women new opportunities in what we believe in at the center that you couldn't pronounce, the Sayyidah Khadija bint Khuwailid Center at the Chamber of Commerce. It's a lobbying center for women's empowerment. We work on research and lobby for legislation, reform and regulation to increase women's participation, whether in the workforce or as in business. So there has been a lot of changes. One of the things, I'll just start with the employment perspective. As I said, the increase of women's participation. The new fields has been women in sales, women in factories, women in private sector, mid-management, and so forth. Our interest and our concern is we don't want to just open opportunities for women in the low-level skills, but that was a good start to get people's perception of seeing women outside the typical environment of hospitals or education sector, and start seeing them in malls, start seeing them interact in a mixed environment. So that was really transformational from that sense. Now, what we're lobbying for is to get them into the boards of directors of private companies, to get them into CEO positions, to get them into higher level and mid-management. We were able to change the law in the Ministry of Trade, allowing women to actually become board members in IPO companies, private companies, and family-owned companies, which was sad because women were not registered officially as board members in her own father's or family-owned business. And Saudi is based a lot on family-owned businesses. When we come to more of the leadership positions, we have a vice mayor in Jeddah, who's a female. We have a deputy in education that was previously also a woman in the education sector. We have the president of the Girl Scouts as a woman who just initiated this after 30 years of not having Girl Scouts. We have now 30 women in the Shura Council, which is I think the highest third representation in the world when it comes to that level. We are still aiming for women in the ministry cabinet, and we congratulate Al-Imarat for the latest appointments of the 8 women. We wish them all the luck. So there is still a lot that we want to achieve. Now, to do that, we needed to actually do research, because when you introduce change in any country, you will find resistance. And when we sit with the decision makers, they say, but we're not ready, the society is not ready, slow down on this, we'll do this for you. And so we needed to come in more empowered ourselves. And the only way to do that actually is to do research and get statistics to know, is society ready or not, or is it just your perception and my perception and we don't have any facts? So we do national polls and national studies. And one of the interesting things that we've asked is, are you ready for women to be a female minister? 54% said yes. Are you ready for women driving? 50% said yes. Are you okay with your wife or daughter working in an environment that would require dealing with male colleagues or male customers? Another 52% said yes. So you could tell that society is somewhat in the middle between accepting and having late acceptance. So you kind of need to lead, and then slowly people will follow in this perception. So this is just a glimpse of the things that are happening.
And there's plenty to pick up on the follow-up for both of you on that. I want to bring up that first slide because you talked about women in the labor force. I would just bring up a slide of the Gulf countries, if you will, and who's leading that charge and the penetration both in Oman and Saudi Arabia. If we can bring up that first slide of labor participation in the region, it gives us a really clear insight. First and foremost is Qatar at 51%. That slide's a little bit small in terms of size, so I'm going to read them all. The UAE at 47%, Kuwait at 44%, Oman at 29%, and Saudi Arabia at 20%. Credit to Dr. Basmah. She said that that number for Saudi Arabia might even be a little bit high. It's less than.
It's about 15 to 16%.
15 to 16%.
But we have challenges because, I mean, there is still the challenges that everybody faces around the world, which is the career balance. But we also have in Saudi more infrastructure balance, which is support that we need to give. First of all, transportation. Second of all, more daycare centers available for women and different job opportunities. Usually people think when we are lobbying for women's empowerment, we want everybody to lead a high-paced career that requires long working hours. Actually, the center, what we believe in is to provide women with the opportunity. It's up to her to choose what fits her needs and lifestyle at the time. If her kids are young, she wants to work from home, she wants to work part-time, she wants a high-paced career. Our role is just to open all the doors for her, but it's not my role to say, you know, you're a woman, just sit at home. And actually, you just reminded me, that was one of the questions we asked to show perception. A lot of people that are lobbying from the other side of saying, women should work, great, let's just sit her home and she can, you know, cook food or tailor clothes and just keep her home because they don't want the mixing or they want her to leave home. And we understand that women's role is very important at home. We're not, you know, decreasing in any way. So we asked society in this poll, and it was a national poll, about 3,000 people, do you think if women worked from home, that would increase women's participation in national development? And 83% said yes, it's an amazing idea. Yeah, women should work at home. We asked the women themselves, would you prefer working from home or would you prefer working part-time? Okay, only 32% said they want to work from home. Okay, 78% said no, we want to work part-time, because that to her is her own balance. She goes, she sees people, she learns from them, she gets exposed, and she goes back home and deals with her responsibility.
Interesting. You could also make the argument, which I can see with my own spouse, that you're always working.
We're always working.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it literally is always working because you're always on the clock. Ahmed, I think it'd be really interesting to hear 5 salient points you make, but I'm going to pick them off one by one. From a male perspective, and this is one of the points that was brought up in our previous conversation before coming on stage, that the legislation written in the broader Middle East and North Africa was done by men. And now that we kind of go in and we bring more women into the workforce and more women into legislatures throughout the region, that it needs a female's eyes. Give us what you're thinking here when it comes to knowledge and the legislation that needs to be reworked. Even Christine Lagarde mentioned it in her comments today. A lot of this legislation doesn't allow for female participation in the workforce. Please.
Thank you. I mean, thank you all for being here after lunch. I know it's a bit challenging to be awake after lunch. And thank you for the organizers to actually have this wonderful opportunity. You know, as I mentioned, you know, you could actually be sympathetic with women and advocate women's rights, but you can never think like a woman. You can never be a woman. I mean, as a man, you are a man.
We're so black and white.
Yeah,
Thank God we have women around.
And you see, and I'll give you a very simple example. I was working on a piece of legislation regarding domestic violence in Oman. And the usual law is that if a woman or any person claims that he or she has been hurt, they have to bring evidence that they were hurt. That's mainly because the law was written by men who thought that, you know, this kind of situations will always occur outside the house, outside home. If situation occurs within the house, then it's normal for a man to beat up his wife or be nasty to her or something like this. And they say, well, let's look at, you know, look at the law, and the law says she has to provide evidence. So our advocacy was, why not change the law? So have the woman, the burden of proof, not on women to prove that she was harmed, but the burden of proof should be shifted to men to prove that they did not cause the harm. Because in the domestic situation, the relationship is so fragile between the woman and the man, or the husband and the wife, and she would not have sufficient witnesses or evidence to actually prove her case. And that's one example of how law should be seen by feminists as well as masculine perspective. Another example is when we were looking at labor laws. Generally speaking, the labor laws do not actually differentiate between men and women in Oman, for example, and the rest of the Gulf. But there is an element or requirement to allow more flexible forms of employment for women. And men would never think about it. They think it's a luxury because they are men, they can go out, they can do whatever. They don't have to worry about looking after the children or doing whatever a woman is expected, unfortunately, to do. So when we were pushing for it, there was a lot of resistance from men regarding flexi time. And so that's one or another example of how women should be involved in legislation, in policy making, and the knowledge they have about the importance of the role of women, how that knowledge should be translated into practical procedures and measures.
Okay, excellent.
If I can add to that,
of course.
We had the same issue with the trade ministry not allowing women to invest or own her license in construction, real estate, or services. And the claim at the time before 2008 when we changed that was construction is not within women's demeanor, it's not within her nature to go into construction. And we literally had to argue for 2 years that perception that she's going to invest her money. She's not actually going to go down and construct the building. She's going to hire people, just like a man would invest in construction. Has nothing to do with his physical ability. We're not asking her to work. So it took us 2 years, and finally they removed that, and she's allowed now to work with, to have business in any field. So you do have to have both perceptions when you are with viewpoints.
Good. I'm going to present a question to Dr. Otaiba, and I would actually like for you to bring up the slide on in Dubai, the tertiary education that women are going into today. Now that the barriers have been knocked down, primarily because of the work of the leadership here, I talked about the first generation of ministers that have come in. We now see a second generation that have come in. Tell me about the collaboration at the government level to see men as your partners in pushing forward change. And then this is an interesting point because you don't want to alienate them because they're in leadership in many positions, but you want to bring them along and say, let's go on this road together to advance the cause of women in the region. I think it's a fair point.
اسمح لي أن أجيب من الناحية الدبلوماسية أو من النواحي التي أنا واجهتها. لدينا مصطلح في الدبلوماسية يسمى الدبلوماسية الشعبية، وهي أن أنا كسفيرة أتواصل مع المواطن الأسباني نفسه، طبعا بجانب تواصلي مع المسؤولين والوزراء. هذه النوع من الأسئلة كنت أواجهها لما أقوم بتقديم أي محاضرة أو أي تواصل، سواء كان ذلك في مدرسة، في مركز أبحاث، في جامعة. يعني تنهمر علي الأسئلة: هل المرأة الإماراتية تعمل؟ هل لها حق في المشاركة السياسية؟ هل هي موجودة في البرلمان؟ هل هي تشكل نسبة من القوى العاملة على مستوى الدولة؟ طبعا هذا يدل على أنهم ما هم متصورينه، وناتج من ايش؟ من بعض اجهزه الاعلام التي تكرر صوره معينه للمراه. طبعا انا اجاوبهم على طول الحمد لله بتوفيق من الله ان المراه الاماراتيه وصل نسبتها 66% من القوى العامله في الوزارات الاتحاديه، 33% منها من المراه في مراكز قياديه. المراه الاماراتيه موجوده في السلطه التشريعيه، في السلطه التنفيذيه، في السلطه القضائيه. المراه الإماراتية هي الوزيرة وهي دبلوماسية وهي القاضية، يعني المرأة الإماراتية موجودة في البرلمان. لدينا 9 سيدات وترأس البرلمان، واليوم شفتوا الدكتورة أمل ترأس المجلس الوطني الاتحادي، لدينا امرأة. فالتصور اللي عندهم المرأة الإماراتية موجودة في سوق العمل مثل ما تفضلتي بعد في السعودية نفس الموضوع. لدينا مجلس سيدات الأعمال في ما يزيد على 12,000 سيدة، لديهم 11,000 مشروع استثماري بما حجمه 12 مليار ونص درهم. فإذا المرأة الإماراتية متوفرة. الشيء الطبيعي أن بالدعم الذي تلاقيه المرأة الإماراتية من قيادتنا الآن نراها في الصفوف الأولى، ونرى لدينا 8 وزيرات، كل هذا يبعث على الارتياح، وكل هذا يساعد عندما أبدأ في الحديث عن المرأة الإماراتية، وهذا يعم المرأة الخليجية أيضا بالنسبة للمواطن الأسباني. فيعني هو التصور عندهم مسبق أن المرأة موجودة في البيت وأن هذا فقط، إن علاقتها بالبيت واهتمامها بالبيت أصلا يجب أن لا ينقص من دورها في المجتمع، بل العكس. تربية الأجيال هذا نتيجتهم، الأجيال اللي ربتهم المرأة هي التي أنتجت سيدات ورجال الآن يقومون ببناء المجتمع الإماراتي.
Great.
John, if
I wanted to bring that slide up because this is a Dubai survey, but it looks at tertiary education of students today in this emirate. So you can see a third are going into business, and I'll come to you on this, Ahmed, if I can. About 20%, 19% go into foundations, and 13% into media, and then humanities. And then we have IT, law, health and medicine, education. What do you take of this survey? In the third of all women going to university in the UAE today are following for business. It's in the DNA, it seems like, Ahmed.
Well, before I actually answer your question, I just wanted to actually, comment perhaps on what Her Excellency has said. And my comment perhaps comes from the last statement His Highness Sheikh Abdullah mentioned about how we look at women. The thing which I would like people to go out with the message, as he said, when we empower women, it is not because we are gracious. It's because they deserve it, okay? It is their right, inalienable right to be given their rightful position. And we should respect them, and that's why this opportunity that was provided for UAE women, or actually quite few of the Gulf countries, women in the Gulf countries have been provided with opportunities. But it requires women to take charge of themselves, to assert themselves and do for themselves what they should be doing. And that links me to the point raised here by John. Women realized that business provides them with that opportunity for self-assertion. They are independent. They can become more independent by being entrepreneurs. They can actually contribute to the economy. They can provide sustenance to their family. They can leave their own footprints. And that's why there is a lot of emphasis across the Gulf countries on women applying more and more for business and media studies, because these are opportunities for them which in a way also do not confront with the norms. We need now women in the Gulf, if I might say so, to challenge the norms. It's only when they challenge the norms and prove themselves that they can actually push the boundaries further and further.
See, I work in media. I'm going to come on you to follow up with you, Dr. Basmah, in just a second. I work in media, which is gender agnostic, if you will. I've always worked for women. I've been in this business for 30 years, this year, in fact. And it's completely normal to have a female CEO, a female leader of a program team, a female leader of a newsroom. And I see media is coming up on that polling. It hasn't busted through. I wanted to ask you a specific question before you pick up on Ahmed's statement there. In Saudi Arabia today, where are, after institutions like KAUST, King Abdullah University for Science and Technology, are we seeing women going more into the sciences? Do we see them leaning towards business? Where are they leaning towards for the next generation of leadership? Because if I go through the top 100 of Arabian business leaders in the Middle East and North Africa, and you go to Saudi Arabia, construction, healthcare, finance, media's in that mix. But what's the next generation of women? What are they leaning towards now, would you suggest, in Saudi Arabia?
I'll pick up on that. I just need to pick up on this before, which is, yes, we run a lobbying center and we empower women, but there's one thing I always caution against when people are trying to empower, that we don't impose ourselves and our views on women, because I still believe we need to respect women's wishes to be a stay-at-home mother and be a full-time stay-at-home mother and not want to have neither a part-time career or nothing. So we need to respect that, because I was a stay-at-home mom when my children were young, and that was a decision I made. And I was living in the States at that time. So I remember the looks people gave me when they knew I was educated, yet I chose to be at home and a stay-at-home mom. And there's some type of looking down upon women that choose to be a stay-at-home mom. And I never want the Middle East or any other nation to go through that feeling of a woman not being proud enough to say, I'm a stay-at-home mom, and I'm fine with that. And we need to respect that that is her wish. So part of empowering women is actually, again, giving her the choices, but not pushing her toward one choice and to leave the house. If she's happy, she's fine, financially stable, she's content within, and wants to give her full time, I think we need to respect that. Now, going back to the question you asked, I don't have statistics to where women are going and which majors. I know that we have pioneering women in science. We have Dr. Ghada Al-Mutairi. She heads the Center of Nanotechnology in the United States. We have other women in Saudi. Yeah, so we have a lot of scientists. I can't really tell you what percentage or where are they going. I think once more opportunities are open, even in education, we have an issue with matching education with what the private sector needs in Saudi. And that goes for both men and women. So we're still trying to fix that part. I think the more opportunities of nice majors opens, the more women will go into it, and then we can statistically see the increase. But at this point, I don't have
Good. Quick follow-up, and this is for also the ambassador, but I'll start with Basmah. Just because of time, I'm very conscious, so let's keep our answers very tight. You've done all very good jobs so far. What influence will the Deputy Crown Prince, as a young, rising leader, working with the Crown Prince today, and of course, His Highness King Solomon, having an identifiable force, if you will, a younger force, which they didn't have in the past? It was older leaders in Saudi Arabia. What sort of influence will this have on women, do you think? The ability for women to drive in Saudi Arabia, the ability for women to want to go to university and come out and do something with that degree?
I think in the past, we've had government support for a long time, and in the past 10 years, I think
I'm asking a different question, though. It's a younger leadership.
Yeah. They're still going. I mean, the younger and the older are still aligned in that, but with the obstacles we have are more social resistance, and so how slow or fast do you bring in change? So I don't think it differs really from the older generation or the younger generation. I don't see a tangible difference that I'm feeling that's different. They're all supportive of women's empowerment from that sense.
Good. It's interesting. I mentioned the ranking of Sheikh Lubna Al-Qasimi, Ambassador. If you look at any of the surveys, that she ranks always in the top 5, if not at the very top. Rima Hashmi ranking 5 in the latest survey that I'm looking at here. But what Dr. Amal Kubaisi said today, I thought was really touching. She said that the elder gentleman from the Western region came to see her and shake her hand, but that a whole new crop of women in the UAE will come up because they see her in that post today, this new generation. What sort of influence will these recent appointments have, do you think, in inspiring the next generation to go into government service, in your view?
أنا متأكدة أن الدعم التي تلاقيه المرأة الإماراتية بتوفيق من الله ومن قيادتنا الرشيدة، هذا جعلها قدوة للعالم ككل، ليس للمرأة الإماراتية فحسب، بل المرأة الخليجية والمرأة على مستوى العالم، لأن هذه الأجيال الشابة التي نراها، وهذه في جميع المجالات، لا نتكلم فقط عن التشكيل الوزاري الذي يبعث لنا بالفخر، لأن هناك سيدات هما كل واحدة منهن تمثل قدوة لنا، وأنا متأكدة أيضا هناك قد يكون هناك سيدات لم يلقى عليهم الضوء، ولكنهم في أماكنهم في مراكز عملهم هم بالنسبة لنا قدوة نفخر بها. هذا الموضوع الذي يهم في كسر الصور النمطية الموجودة. هنالك سيدات عليهم الأضواء ونحن نفتخر بهم، ونتمنى دائما أن يكون هناك قيادات شابة أكثر تساهم في بناء مجتمعنا الإماراتي الحديث. ولكن أيضا هنالك سيدات قد لا يعرف عنهم البعض، قد يكونوا في بيوتهم، ولكن أنتجوا لنا هذه الأجيال الشابة، وهم بدعمهم، سواء كان دعمهم للرجل كزوج أو أخ أو ابن، أو دعمهم لبناتهم، هم يمثلون بالنسبة لنا أيضا قدوة ومفخرة.
Okay, very good. I want to open the floor to questions. We have 16 minutes left. I have plenty here, but I can see a lot of hands going up, which is a good sign. So if I can get a microphone, if you can please stand up, that'd be great. We'll get a microphone to you. I would ask you to introduce yourself, and then we have a second microphone here. Can I get another microphone to the woman in the blue dress? Thank you very much.
Hello.
Please.
My name is Shahad Hay from Zayed University. I am majoring in international affairs. I would like to ask Her Excellency for an advice for the young new aspiring students in the UAE. As we all know that we are the future of the UAE, and we are all right now striving to be empowered and to be like in the arena and like to sorry. So yeah, that's my question.
That's a very good question. You actually just kind of softened it into the landing here. I think I'm almost going to interpret the question also for role models, I think is important, Ambassador. So she's looking for inspiration, but did you have a role model before you came into diplomacy yourself?
لأن أنا قدوتي هي الشيخة فاطمة الله يطول في عمرها. هي أم الإمارات، هي اللي بحثت فينا هذا الحماس منذ قيام الاتحاد لاهتمامها بالمرأة وإيمانها بأن المرأة تستطيع أن تعمل. قام الاتحاد النسائي، بثقت من الكثير من المؤسسات، طلعت الكثير من القوانين التي تحمي المرأة والتي تساعد المرأة، وهي دائما نصب عيني، هي دائما في جمع. وعاد يمكن بعد أتكلم عن شيء يعني خاص شوية، أن في لقاءاتي مع الملكة رينا صوفيا تشيد بمآثر الشيخة فاطمة، وهنالك دائما تعاون لمواضيع خاصة بالأشياء الخاصة بمساعدة الشاريتي، هي الأشياء الخيرية التي تقام سواء بين البلدين بين هنا وهناك. فإذا وضعنا نصب عيننا، وأنا أحاول أجاوب، إذا وضعنا نصب عيننا يعني ما تقدمه الإمارات لنا وما تقوم به صاحبة السمو أم الإمارات بتوفيق من الله وبدعم من قيادتنا الرشيدة، نتمسك بهويتنا الوطنية، نتمسك بتقاليدنا وتعاليم ديننا، ونتمسك أيضا نتسلح بالعلم حتى نتمكن أن نصل إلى المستويات المرغوبة، وحتى نرد الجميل لهذا الوطن كل منا في مجاله صغر أو كبر. أتمنى أن يكون جاوبتك.
Ahmed, you had a point, and I'm going to come to Basmah. I think it's a very prescient comment that Ahmed shared with me before, is be the change that you seek. What do you mean by that as a point of reference for somebody looking for inspiration today?
I was actually drafting that from a male perspective. It can also apply to a female perspective. If I'm actually speaking about women and advancing women, I should actually make sure that I, for example, provide through my daily interaction an opportunity for women, believe in women, push them, make sure. So for example, in my lectures and my training exercises, I always make sure that the working groups have equibalence between men and women, boys and girls. For women, or girls generally speaking, what I meant is that if they want to be a leader, an ambassador like Her Excellency, they should really understand what made her that way and seek to empower themselves. Do not wait for people to provide you with education, for example, or with an opportunity. You really have to chart a career for yourself and step by step go about it.
Great. Basmah, you had a comment as well for this?
Yeah, regarding the role model, I think for the future generation, we are very keen on having them understand our Islamic role models, because we find a lot of our answers to the questions we have in our Islamic role models. It's how you look at those characters. So for example, Sayyidah Khadija bint Khuwailid is our role model. So when we look at it from a business perspective, she was Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, his first wife. She was an entrepreneur at the time. So if you look at it, she started in Mecca in a small area, and then she expanded internationally. How many women here have actually gone beyond the borders of their country? So she is a role model in that sense. The way she recruited Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, she used word of mouth, something similar to what would be called social media today, LinkedIn, something of that sort. And when she recruited him, peace be upon him, she didn't recruit him because he was an Ivy League graduate or because he had a lot of experience in the field, but she really concentrated on his ethics and values. And this is something that we tell the business world. A lot of companies have fell down because of their unethical trade. So it's very important when you employ people that you look into their ethical background and their ethical values, because that is what's going to last. Now, when she sent him, these are all learning examples. When she sent him on her first business trip, she didn't just send him out without anybody. She sent her slave Maysara to give an appraisal report when he comes back of how did he conduct the business. So when he came back, he actually came back with the highest profit ever for her, but she wasn't blinded by the money, and she asked the servant, how did he conduct his business ethics? How did he interact with people? And she increased his bonus scheme based on what Prophet came. All these are examples that now we're being taught in universities. She's a role model. And then I come to women from the social perspective. How many of us now, all of us here sitting here in the 21st century, claiming that we are all the confident women, the educated women, would actually, when we fall in love with a man, go down and propose to that man to actually marry us, knowing that we're 15 years older, without doing Botox, without doing liposuction, without going on a diet, actually believing that we are worth having this love. And the way she actually went and proposed wasn't like, would you marry me? She actually sent her girlfriend in the middle. So there's a midway. There's a proper way to show a man that you are interested or that you have feelings for that man. Having feelings for him, and he's not rich, and she was very rich. She became the richest person in the peninsula, meaning she competed with men. So she didn't just stay in women-only fields of business. She actually expanded to interact and to actually trade and compete with men. So that teaches us something. Now, when we're faced in Saudi, when they tell us, women, leadership positions, oh, we don't know. I say, what do you mean? They're like, no, no, women should not lead men. And I say, what about Sayyidah Khadija bint Khuwaylid? She was the boss of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. How are you different than him? He is the role model. So they sit down and they're quiet. Another example, they say, but you know, Dr.
They sit down and quiet, I'm sure.
They don't discuss these things a lot of time with me, but that's what I'm saying about empowering ourselves with knowing our own role models in Islam. And so when they come and say, Dr. Basmah, construction for women or this kind of job for women, I'm not sure, this is not within her nature, she's a soft woman. And I say, okay, have you been to Ghar Hira? Ghar Hira, for people that don't know, is where Prophet Muhammad meditated till he got his prophecy. It's a mountain. So to live her life, I actually went up that mountain. Now, I'll be honest, I'm not into physical activities. I'm not an exercise person. However, I went up and I almost had a heart attack at the first 2 minutes. I was pounding. I was like, what am I doing? My kids went up very fast. And I realized as I woken up, it's like, how did she do it? She was 60 years old at the time. Every day she'd actually walk up that mountain to give him food, to make sure he's okay, without nagging. If my husband left me with 7 kids, okay, and a business to run, and went up to meditate somewhere where he doesn't know what's happening, I'd be screaming at him, getting him back down to work and take care of my kids. So she had that support for a man, okay? She took care of the kids. She balanced between, she knew exactly how to deal with men and how to put that, you know, limit of how do you deal. So she is the true role model for us, and that's why and there's a lot of women like that in Islam, but we would like to take that. One more thing for women that are widowed, women that are divorced, single moms, she's also an example, because a lot of people don't know that Sayyidah Khadija bint Khuwaylid was actually widowed twice before she married Prophet Muhammad, and she had 3 children to take care of prior to meeting him. So she was a single mom. She did not go on welfare like most women do today. She actually started her business, okay? So there is, I mean, the lessons are endless.
And it's right in front of us if we just step here. Thank you very much. We have a question, please, if you can stand up. And before you start, we have a question here with the microphone and one back there. If I can get the other microphones, please, to this. We'll get other microphones. Here, one in the back for time. Thank you.
Miss Veronica, I am probably the first Ecuadorian international artist here in the Middle East or in the Gulf. And my country elected me Woman of the Year in the field of culture. I represent recently Ecuador at La Biennale de Venecia. I'm saying that more than introducing myself to tell you that that is my big mission, arts and culture. I am living here 2 years. Before I was 15 years in Paris. What I would like to mention is that every one of us knows that in any development of big cities and big countries, the magic word arts and culture has so much to do on that. And in these 6 precious hours of any beautiful speakers, I'm honored to be here. The magic word, have been not pronounced yet, which is arts. And I would like to know, in this case, 2 different answers, if you allow me.
I just have to be careful on time, please.
Yes. One from the Emirates, where all of us, we know how active you are in this field, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, etc. But the weekend I was reading an inform that 2 years ago, probably, about the Saudi real engagement to improve these sectors, arts and culture, even if there is a huge difference related to the other cities in Arabia. So one point that surprised me a lot is that the persons in charge, the responsible, are focused to include arts as much as they can in the education. The point that surprised me is that it seems that before men were not allowed to study arts as women. So now, 2 years ago, this informed. Now, I would like to hear what is the update situation. Are you including men? Are you trying? Because it's a great way to run in the development wish, arts and culture, and this is part of any. Art is not just about economic, it's not just a business, but in Paris or any other city have been a huge instrument to make ourselves really grow up.
Yeah, it's a great point. We almost have a revolution taking place in Abu Dhabi, as you know, Your Excellency, with the art scene with the Louvre and the Sheikh Zayed Museum and the Guggenheim to follow. We've seen what Dubai has done in art. I've seen what's happening in Jeddah as well. Is it being encouraged for men? Because it's usually kind of not the first port of call.
Actually,
in fact, when I went into media, even the Greek family, they were like, are you crazy? You're supposed to be a businessman. What's happening in Saudi Arabia?
Some of our greatest artists in Saudi Arabia actually are men. Women are the ones being introduced into it as official, having galleries for women artists. So this is actually the new part. And the interesting is that there has been more concern and more attention given to culture and art, and more exhibitions that are, like, we have a whole week of exhibitions for artists and creative people. So this is something definitely that there is interest in, and I highly believe in arts and education as well together, especially with children with learning disabilities and of that sort. It's a great tool. So definitely there's interest.
It's interesting what's happening in Saudi Arabia on that front. Well, obviously what Sultan Qaboos has done with the Opera Center and the Arts Center has been phenomenal. Dr. Hirsa, very quickly, if you don't mind. I want to see that. Excuse me for one second. Who has the microphone next, please? Please stand up. Thank you. The woman behind you, please, in the gray first. Thanks. We had a hand back there. I'm sorry about that. Excuse me. Please stand up as well so we can get a microphone to you. And please, Dr. Hirsa, sorry.
أنا أريد أن أضيف هنا أن هناك تعاون من ناحية يعني كالإمارات، وهنا نمثلها كسفارة هناك بين متاحف إسبانيا والمتاحف الموجودة في الإمارات، متحف البرادو، متحف رينا صوفيا، وهذا لأن الفن هو الذي هو التراث، هو الذي ينقل الحضارة، هو الذي يكون في تنافس أو يكون في نقل معلومات بين البلدين، والتواصل الثقافي مهم جدا على نفس المستوى من تواصل اقتصادي أو تواصل سياسي بين الدول. وكان.
And it's incredible, having lived here for just the amount of culture you take in week by week and learning about the history that people have been very shy to see. That was right before our eyes. So it's a pleasure to see it open up, and then the scale of the museums. But the local culture and the local art scene is really starting to blossom in the UAE, Saudi Arabia, and clearly, of course, Oman. A quick question, if I can, please. There you go. Thanks. I'll try to come to you. I don't know if I have time. The next lady, do you have a microphone? Perfect. Please, you go first. Thank you.
Okay, first I'd like to thank everyone here. And my name is Amal Abu Jabal. And first I wanted to thank Dr. Basmah. I'm an Egyptian American, and I was working with the Ministry of the Communication Information Technology of Egypt, developing the IT industry. Now I have joined a US company, and what you have spoken about, like developing the Saudi woman, is very close to my heart. And what you have said really encouraged me and give me lots of hope on seeing like the Arab woman rise, and this is what they need. And I would like to work with you professionally and personally to do that in Saudi.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks very much. Question from the floor. Thanks for the contribution. It should be on, don't worry. Yeah, it's on.
Hello, I'm Hanan Saab, and I'm coming from Lebanon. And Your Excellency, what caught my attention is the stay-at-home mom. I'm an activist in women empowerment in business, and I do realize that it's important for women, after investing so much in their minds and the development, to stay abreast of developments. So what is your policy regarding flexible timing and working from home, given that we have now so many advances in technology, and the fact that it's very important for women to stay more or less involved in the workforce despite the responsibilities that they have with their families and bringing up their children.
Just so I'm clear, Dr. Hissa, correct?
I mean, both.
Okay, perfect. We have to be careful on time because we're almost out of time. Please, why don't you start?
يعني إن عمل المرأة لا يلغي دورها كأم، فهي ممكن إذا حبت أن تعمل من البيت مثل ما اقترحت السيدة الآن، فممكن أن تعمل من البيت بوجود وسائل الآن التكنولوجيا، بوجود الإنترنت، بوجود تستطيع حتى أن تبدأ نشاطها التجاري من البيت. ولكن هذا لا يعني أنها إذا خرجت إلى العمل فهذا سيؤثر على عملها الرئيسي واهتمامها ببيتها واهتمامها بأطفالها. هي ممكن أن توازن بين الثنتين، يعني لا نستطيع أن نقول أن إذا عملت فإنها ستهمل بيتها أو العكس. يجب أن يكون هناك نوع من المعادلة التي تضمن أنها حتى لا تضيع الأجيال التي هي أملنا للمستقبل.
Great. It's interesting though because
generations.
was saying this before, we can't dictate it, and Basmah, you were saying the same. How do we allow that work-life balance to make sure we have that participation and the creativity that a woman offers in the probably less black and white world while still advancing the region and getting as much as we can productivity-wise from a
That's $1 million answer that you're asking.
It's not easy.
Globally, people are having issues now, even men, I think, with balancing. I mean, now with the technology, I mean, you're working till 12 o'clock in bed, you're doing emails. It's becoming even more difficult and difficult. My point was that if she decides to stay at home, whether she wants to get educated at home, whether she wants to do volunteer work, whatever it is that she wants to do, we just need to give her that respect, that it's okay to do that and make that decision, and to balance whatever that she wants her lifestyle to be. If she decides to go outside and work, okay, and not work from home or, you know, just be a stay-at-home mother, is that we need to provide her the infrastructure to help her balance. So that means for our situation, that would mean transportation, daycare, regulations for flexible hours, working from home part of the week, and all the part-time jobs. All these things are things that from a regulatory point of view, we need to provide as a supportive infrastructure for her to be able to balance. I am sometimes very unbalanced, and it's something that, till today, every time it's like, okay, that's it, these are the priorities, this is how I do it, and then I fall off balance, and I come back, and my mom screams at me, and it's very helpful to have a mother that kind of puts you back in balance, says you haven't spent enough time with the kids, and so it's a joint effort, and I always say, I would not have done it if it wasn't for my mother's support and my husband's support, because there's absolutely no way with my travel schedule and late hours that my kids are raised as a group project, okay? So the whole family is raising my children, and that's how, you know, it's good, but I'm fortunate that I live close to my mother. But other than that, so you need that support system.
That's a fantastic point. For us expats that live overseas, we always have this challenge because we don't have the family network around us to create that group unity that you need when we're kind of running around the world. The red light's flashing, but I got to give Dr. Ahmed the last point.
Okay, I have to say a funny story, but
you can. We'll let you finish it.
If we have time, it's okay.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Very quickly, I would just, if I say one sentence about something which I like people to go home with. The biological function of a woman should not be a barrier to her social and economic role. We should always try to make her delivery of the biological function as easy as possible in order for her to deliver her social and economic role.
Yes, the framework for it.
The framework.
Okay.
And thank
great
you.
point.
For that purposes, you know, governments in the Gulf, and I know in Oman, we have, for example, allowed kind of more flexible licensing requirements for women to establish businesses and work from home. So they don't have to actually have an office or rent or something like this. And there are, of course, part-time, flexi-time, and so forth. They need to have the infrastructure as in the Emirates, which is really leading the Gulf in terms of the daycare centers are part of the formal education system. That's the greatest, in some research shown recently, one of the greatest empowerment tools for women to really partake in all of the social and economic development.
Excellent points. Dr. Basmah, final thought, because we have to wrap, I'm over time. 30 seconds on your story, please.
It's going to take more than that. But anyway,
I don't want to walk away without giving you that.
Just the thing with the balance, again, women have the guilt thing that kind of burns us inside. You know, you're guilty if the kid, you know, went to school, forgot his book or something. And I had a long time balancing groceries and balancing, you know, just daily lives. And one time I was sitting in a meeting, very high level meeting, we're discussing regulations, and my phone kept ringing from the house. And I figured, okay, they have there's a system. You call, if I don't answer, you send a message, and I take care of it with messages. And so they kept on ringing 13 times, so I thought the house must have burned down because, you know, something must be an emergency. So I excused myself, and I'm talking ministry level, very high level meeting, and I walk out, and I was like, what is wrong? And they're like, Madame, there's no onion in the house. And I'm like, what? There's no onion in the house? And automatically in my head, I'm like, oh my God, that means there's no lunch for the kids. My husband's come back. Damn, I didn't get to the grocery shop. I didn't leave money for them to do. The driver is outside. How am I going to? And it became an issue. I'm like, I walked in and I was like, okay, so we say women in leadership positions. I'm sitting with the minister and the vice minister. We're discussing regular. But guess what? At the end, it's my onion that I have to take care of the onion. I bet if it was onion missing in the minister's house, they wouldn't be calling him. They'd be calling his wife. So I felt, although I'm in the top level, I'm still being required to do different work. And this is a different kind of balance that we feel. So that's just a story.
Good. Final thoughts. That's excellent. It keeps your feet on the ground, whether it's an onion or not, right?
I grocery shop now.
It happens before I do a live shop. My wife calls you. You realize you didn't pick up that quart of milk I asked you to pick up. Go ahead. Final thoughts.
لا ما أريد أن أضيف هني بس تحية لهذا المنتدى والقائمين عليه ولنعمل سويا على إزالة أي صور مغلوطة عن المرأة الإماراتية والمرأة الخليجية في أذهان البعض. شكرا.
شكرا.
Great.
And stereotypes about women.
First and foremost, thank you. It's a pleasure. I almost think we became friends over the last 5 days. Emails and calls on the weekends and all this other stuff. Ahmed, it's not easy to be a man on a female's panel, but they did a fantastic job.
Without the men, so we thank you for that.
You played it very well. Thank you. And I'm sorry I couldn't take all the questions, but we had to squish it together because we have a busy agenda. But thanks to the audience for all the great questions as well. Thank you very, very much. Sit tight. There's a panel to follow. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. We kindly ask you to remain seated as we are about to start the